Hello, this is IBC Business Review, a joint project of Khaba TV and IBC that talks about the most pressing issues the businesses and private sector faces here in Kyrgyzstan. And today we're going to talk about foreign businesses operating here, expat community, and in particular the hospitality industry here in Kyrgyzstan, how it does, what kind of prospects does it have. And today we've got Bрэдом Brенneman, the owner and manager of Sierra Coffee, a chain of restaurants here in Bishkek, and Mr. Tufan Kobanbay, general manager of Haятт Ридженси Бишкек, another major foreign business here in Bishkek. So let's go straight to the questions, gentlemen.
Okay.
Brad, you studied in the States. You've been working. You are original from New Zealand to start with, and then you've been working all over the world, all over Central Asia. You spent several years in Uzbekistan. How did you end up in Bishkek and doing business in Bishkek, which is not that simple sometimes?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think you're correct. It's not so simple sometimes, but I've been here for 23 years in Central Asia, the last 7 in Bishkek. Before that in Uzbekistan, and working in tourism, in microfinance, different areas, and we decided to do something crazy and start coffee business in Kyrgyzstan. Everyone said, Brad, you're crazy. It's impossible. I said, no, it's not impossible. This is a very open country, open people. And so we've been here for 7 years, roasting coffee. And
was it for real that they're open? And
yes, of course, of course. I think it's one of the things I know after many years is every town, village, city, country in Central Asia, they're all different. And it's a mistake to think that everywhere is exactly the same. In fact, for us, there was a big culture shock moving from Tashkent to Bishkek. I myself did not realize how different the cities, the culture, even though most of the food and many customs are the same, they're very different. So it took some time to adjust to the different cultures. Not better, not worse, it's different. And but then we adjusted, and but definitely here in Kyrgyz Republic, it's an open culture. People are very open, very friendly, and we travel, as you know, I travel all around the country, especially camping and horses, different things we do, and we see people. Doesn't matter what happens. We had a car problem in the middle of nowhere. The first car that comes along, they stop and they help us.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's a very hospitable, open place.
Right. Well, Tufan, you in turn you have been here for about half a year, right?
No, only 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah,
right.
I'm a baby boy.
So how is it so far?
Great.
Did you like the country?
It's stunning. Of course, the first impressions when you come to the hotel from your team, right? So I was feeling so lucky, and still I feel so lucky that the team is so dynamic, as Bradley said. He's so friendly, helpful, attentive. They have it within them.
Right.
And it is unbelievable to have a team as such. And when I start meeting new people, you understand this is the part of the local culture. So everybody's same. So and the first impressions were unbelievable. I still feel very lucky to be here. So it's great.
Was it different from other countries that you've worked in? You've worked all over the Middle East, right?
Okay,
Oman and
correct.
Doha.
Correct. Couple of
Goa.
places we've been to. I've been to Goa, India, Muscat in Oman, Doha, Qatar, Istanbul many years. I've been to Almaty as well. Worked there 3.5 years. Look, in hospitality industry, it is so important how people feel themselves and how they would like to react on certain situations. And if you have it within you, you cope up with challenges or any circumstances easily. So, and this country, the people within the country, they have it within them, and it is so helpful.
Right. Well, yeah, that's good to hear. What about the business side of this? We've first talked about your impressions of working with people, of going different places, and so on and so forth. But what about business side, the everyday paperwork that you face? I don't know, looking for
Bureaucracy.
customers, looking for partners, perhaps bureaucracy. How do you deal with that?
It's a very good and complicated question,
Right.
because definitely there are challenges. What I see, I take a very historical, long-term approach. The amount of paperwork, rules that make no sense, that are continuously becoming less and less. If you think of 20, 25 years ago, many of the things you had to do, I don't even know the Russian, English word for inkasator. You know, it used to be every day they would come and take the cash from the business. Every day they're coming. This is
Do you have so much cash that
no,
you need?
no. This was the law, the system before. You couldn't keep cash, and this is years ago. So this is gone now. Everyone thinks, "What are you talking about?" But in some other countries, this is still the system. So yes, there's bureaucracy. Yes, there are difficult things, and I'm always asking my staff, is this necessary? Is it required by the government, by the national bank, or is this just something that we've created? Like we often, I find that my staff will maybe create things because this any organization loves to create its own bureaucracy.
Right.
So this paperwork generates this paperwork, and you say, why do we need this? And sometimes you find there's no reason for it, except we've always done it this way. And so you can actually just eliminate it. But then sometimes there's a very specific legal requirement from the government, which in the end makes sense. So I'm also through International Business Council and different organizations we are partners with, trying to always lobby to make the bureaucratic rules a little bit simpler so we can focus on marketing, on sales, on clients, on paying taxes, on paying salaries, and improving products, improving the service. I find that a lot of time though goes to trying to figure out how to do these things better.
Right.
But it's not impossible. We've been here for 7 years working, and I think a lot of people, foreigners, said, "Oh, it's impossible." I said, "I don't understand. Why are you saying it's impossible? There's other people who are running businesses."
Right.
But you have to find out. Another mistake, if I can just say one more thing, I heard many times that there's no system. Actually, in all of these countries in Central Asia, there are systems. And just if you're a foreigner, to understand that there is a system, find out what the system is. It's definitely not the British or German or American, New Zealand or Turkish system. It's a different system.
Right.
But you have to learn the system and work within the system. And then it's possible. So
Well, since you've worked for what, already 6-7 years here, and you have opened new restaurants almost every year, does it mean that
and
you
closed
have
some
managed?
too.
Well, still, yeah. But at the moment, are you the biggest coffee restaurant chain?
No,
here?
we're not the biggest chain. I think there's some others that are bigger.
Right.
There's a lot of the great thing is that because of us and a few others, the coffee culture is
Right.
growing. And people are. It's not about the drink. It's about the culture. It's about sitting and talking and connecting with people. This is what I think we brought to the market in Bishkek. Is that it wasn't about just selling a product, because we can sell a lot of coffee, and we're happy that we've partnered with the Hyatt now for many years. It was good to sell the product, but for me personally, when you go to a cafe, and I always say that a coffee shop is a European tea house, чайхана. In Russian, европейский чайхана, this is кофейня. So it's a place to connect. And if you do this, and so now we see around Bishkek, and it's growing to other cities, a lot of places where people are just connecting, they're having business meetings, students are meeting, doing studies and work groups, and this is the coffee culture, as well as food and everything else. So what we see is a lot of coffee places opening,
Right.
but like any business, whether it's the hotel business or the coffee cafe business, the strongest will survive. In a lot of places we see they're opening and then they're closing. This is a normal business process. And so you have to work very hard to be successful. So.
Well, good for you that you are still working.
Thank you.
Following up on this, Tufan, you sell not only coffee but all types of drinks and food and beverages in your hotel, and you are essentially one of those people who are, as we talked before, who create the image of the country for most of the tourists that just stay overnight in Hyatt and then go away back to their homes. And you might have heard lots of reviews from them about how they feel here, how their stay here is like. What do you think? what kind of impressions did you get from the foreigners visiting the country? And most probably from the top-ranking foreigners that are usually your guests, prime ministers, presidents. How do they?
Okay, if they are visiting only Bishkek,
Right.
and if it is a business trip, of course there are so much going on in their minds, and they concentrate on what they are doing and what is the purpose of the visit, and they mostly stay within the property. But if they are coming for a leisure activity and traveling around, going to Isikul or Karakol or wherever they're gonna be, and just on the way back they stay within the property. So there are two different type of people.
Yeah.
So the comments from the first is, of course, Hayatt is a global brand, and what we are trying to do here is, of course, to serve the global standards to our guests, and I hope we achieve to do so. And definitely they are very comfortable, and again, it comes to the first point that I put, the people makes the difference, and I think it is the most valuable asset of the country.
Right.
And they comment about the people. Whatever reviews we get, whatever comments that we get is, yes, this is 5-star quality product, but the people makes the difference. Well, it does. It does. It is very serious matter that you have the right people at the right places.
Meaning that not just people in your hotel, but everywhere.
Of course,
right?
yeah. From they enter the country till they leave, the interactions that they have, the friendliness, the positiveness that they have in the environment is affecting them big time. And the people who travel around, they talk about the beauty of the nature. Mm-hmm. They talk about how stunning, breathtaking, and fascinating the nature is. The mountains, the fresh air, the climate, everything around Bishkek, and it's, I think, big opportunities lying down. And
do you feel that the tourism flow is increasing or decreasing?
Of course, increasing
significantly.
I believe so. I'm still very new, 4 months, but
right.
What I understand from the past history and the data that I follow is definitely it is increasing. Yeah.
Do you also feel that? Get this feeling of
yes.
more and more foreigners? For instance, when I walk in the streets, I feel like there are more and more foreigners. Is it just my feeling, or?
Especially now, we're filming this in August.
Right.
This is the season of European tourism.
Thank you for telling. So
yes. It's August, yes. A lot of foreigners. But my travels around in Kyrgyzstan in the last month, we've been to Songkul, Tashabat, Lake Kalsu.
You've traveled
all these places,
the
off-road and on-road into Narin, all different. Mostly this year in Narin region, and a lot of foreigners, a lot of tourists. As I talked to everyone, I said this year there's a lot more than in the past. Very good that the government got rid of that very short-lived registration law at the end of last year, because most of the tourists just coming in and going straight, through Bishkek to the mountains, or they're coming through Toroghat or somewhere else from China, from Uzbekistan, from Tajikistan, from Kazakhstan, and so it's very important to have this freedom of movement. I was at Songkul and lots of yurt camps, and they're all full of people. Mm-hmm. And of course, this is excellent for the country as long as we have the services to keep this rubbish, trash, musor, taking care of everything else. A lot of people, money coming into the economy. Mm-hmm. We see in our cafes also more tourists this year. But it'll be interesting as you and others look at the data, what kind of tourists are coming. A lot of individual travelers. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a lot of older groups of people, meaning older
from
people
Europe?
From Israel, from Europe. Mm-hmm. So what I'm seeing is there's all layers. There's the individual traveler with a backpack. I met 2 couples this week in our cafe, 2 married couples, separately. One on bikes, one in the car from New Zealand. Right. They're retired, riding bikes. One of them, they drove their car from Bangkok or somewhere. They're driving to London. Last year I met a man, he drove from Guangzhou to London. And I met him in Songkul, a car with New Zealand license plate. So this is becoming very popular. And so all of our services, they seek to meet the needs of all the different layers. Most of the people I meet, they probably don't stay in the Hyatt. It's probably more organized groups. I don't know, because there's different levels.
Tourism. Yeah, okay, correct. Yeah.
By the way, recently I saw like a dozen of foreign plated cars,
Yes.
SUVs around Hyatt. Is it like a big group of tourists moving in? Why, when you talk to them?
So you want company secrets now?
Yeah, but I mean, when you talk to them, why do they usually come here? I mean, where do they hear from about Kyrgyzstan, and why do they decide to come? When I meet a large group of people, especially from very distant countries, I usually ask them, where did you hear about our country? And how are your impressions? So why do you come here?
Yesterday I was having a chat with one of the investors here,
Right.
or planning to invest in the country. First of all, if a country is developing, as Kyrgyzstan is, again, it's full of opportunities.
Mhm.
And if the country is open to those investments, definitely there will be many more to come and explore the opportunities. And there are many people coming for that.
Right.
There are many governmental delegations. They are visiting the country, meeting with our government here, trying to understand what can be done for future mutual beneficial agreements. The whole idea is how open the country is for those investors and how welcoming they are. So the more open we're gonna be, I'm sure many more businesses gonna come and this country will get developed much better. And I'm telling you, it has so much opportunities. It is so exciting to be part of it.
That's great to hear. We're now trying to ensure that there are even more people coming. So, maybe you've got any ideas about what still remains to be done in terms of improving quality of services, infrastructure, I know, maybe visa requirements. Recently, the government announced that e-visas are going to be introduced in September already.
Mhm.
This is a moment that we've been waiting for several years, because there are lots of Pakistani, Indian tourists that want to come, or other
Mhm.
developing nations. So just speaking freely and thinking about all the aspects of tourism in this country, what would you advise? What could we do better to attract even more tourists? Yeah.
Okay, of course you have to have some sort of budget to promote it. Unfortunately, we don't have that much.
But we have YouTube.
We have
Facebook.
YouTube.
It's very
By the way, you are doing a great job, promoting it on Facebook.
Okay.
I try.
Yes, yes, the social media definitely
Social
helps, right? But you need some sort of funds to push the marketing efforts.
Definitely.
But if you don't have the funds, you have to be creative and innovative,
Right.
and you have to literally give the tools to the young generation in the country. Look, the other day, every month I meet with the new hires to the hotel. So there are some 10, 15 people every month we receive to the property. It can be either trainees or newcomers, new hires. And when you engage with that young generation, and they're all Kyrgyz, you understand the potential within the people. And recently I met one gentleman. He is going to be working in our cross-dinner restaurant. You cannot imagine the passion in him and how inspiring he is. And he's only 19 or 20 years old.
Oh, really?
And I'm 44. Getting inspired from a 20-year-older is stunning. And he captures you. The way he talks about the tourism and what he wants to do in tourism to make it much more popular within the world.
Right.
From that mind, is unbelievable. So if you give that opportunity to the young generation, let them to identify themselves and to talk about it. And also, one other point, the ambassadors of Kyrgyzstan who are working abroad, they are doing a great job. soon we will have this conference, the summit about the snow leopard going to happen in our hotel, right? It is a global summit. Many people are expected to attend from all around the world.
Coming? Or not?
We don't share our guest. We don't share our guest information, but there will be many celebrities around.
Right.
But look, events as such, if you host them, you will be recognized in the world market.
Yes.
You will be heard about.
Like the World Nomad Games?
Of course, those kind of stuff you need in the market, and the more you attempt to get them here, and we have to help all these projects, associations who are eager to improve the tourism, the services, the standards in, and also to promote abroad. So we cannot wait everything from the government. We individuals, operations, organizations, associations, projects, private or governmental, we have to support. And whenever I meet any of those, I'm telling you, I give my full support and tell them openly, whatever you need from me as Hayatt, I am here to support you.
Right. That's great.
Can I add something? I think, as you were just sharing, all of these events, they're critical to bring the image and the knowledge of the country to when you're overseas. There's also so much information. How do you hear about a pretty small place like Kyrgyzstan? What I find sometimes is maybe just the reality is that many people hear from the history of the country are looking for very quick money, quick results, and direct. You know, what am I getting from the Snow Leopard conference? I mean, I think I get nothing, so why should I support it? But the more we do, the more there is just a synergy between all the events, the people coming, and everybody benefits from this. And so I feel like we have to work a lot with just the whole population of the country to help people to understand what generates income, what generates wealth for everybody. Maybe in some villages they think what they're doing in Bishkek has nothing to do with me in the village. But as we do these events, there's more money coming into the budget of the government. The government can then improve the infrastructure all around the country, whether it's electricity or gas or roads or anything. It's all interconnected. I find often with my own staff, it's difficult for whatever historical reasons and education to really make these connections and understand that it's all connected together. Right. The more tourists we have going all over the country, the more money is going all over the country, and people benefit. They can afford health care, they can buy new clothes, they can live better because of this. Also on the education side, we've talked about it before. Simple things like I would love if we could have a national campaign, like now we have national campaign for elections. National campaign to train people to not throw their rubbish, trash out the window of the car when they're driving. And I did something for TV a couple of years ago, and I said, if a tourist comes from Austria and they go straight up to the mountains, the last thing they want to see is vodka bottles or plastic bags, because the scenery is amazing. Did you see
some of those at Songkul and other places?
Unfortunately, I call it the monument to vodka. There's always where you go bottles. Maybe less than before, and there's been fantastic efforts by different people. Some of them I know in organizations to clean up the things that are left behind. But you can clean it up. The next time it gets left. The important thing is to have national campaign where people learn that it's not like an animal skin; it's just biodegradable. The plastic bag and bottle will stay
and
for
it is
years.
Educative, I agree.
It's educational. We have to. It takes a generation. I don't know for Tufan, but for me, I remember being in my childhood seeing bottles and cans around.
Right.
And now, in the same places, we don't have it. So in the West, people used to throw everything everywhere, but it changed in a couple generations. It takes time, but this is critical for tourism because the tourists they're coming for the beauty. We were just near Torughat at the border with China. I'm sitting there. I've been several times to these places. It's spectacular. You cannot really take pictures to communicate this feeling. Maybe if you have an IMAX movie, you can kind of feel like you're there, but you don't want to see rubbish. You want to experience the tourists that we meet. They want to experience the culture, the food, the people, and the natural beauty. So we have to protect these things. And then, of course, I believe provide the services. We have a lot of tourists, the people we know, they're staying at the Hyatt and other more expensive high-end hotels where the service, the food, everything is excellent. Then you have the people who just want to stay in a hostel with 10 other people in one room. For me, they all drink coffee, so I'm happy. But we have to provide the wide range of services and not look, as a foreigner living here, sometimes when I meet people, I feel like they're just looking at me as a source of money. Yeah, right. You're a rich foreigner. I said, but I'm making my money in Kyrgyzstan, just like you. You know, I'm not.
You raise children here.
My children are going to school here. My businesses here have 2 companies. Why? And I joke with my staff. They say, "Wow, you speak Russian very well." And I speak some Kyrgyz, Uzbek. And I said, "How long have you lived here?" And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "How old are you?" They said, 19 or 20, like your new staff members. I said, "I've lived here longer than you." So who's the foreigner? Because we've been here since 1994. But it's changing, on a deep level, it's changing mentality that we're all people. We live here. Some of us chose to live here and to make this our home. And we carry together...
Do you feel like home here?
Yeah, this is our home. We live here. We carry the responsibility to make things better together. And we're all doing different services.
Thank you. It's tremendously interesting to talk about all this here, and I think we're going to talk for another hour. I'd love to. But our time of our broadcast we're running out of time of our broadcast, and I just wanted to thank you for coming here and for doing business here, for working here, for raising children here, feeling like home here. This is what we are all, as locals, trying to make sure that all the foreigners, all the expats, all the business people are feeling like at home and are enjoying the coffee culture, the hospitality culture, everything, mountains, lakes, rivers. So it's really great and heartwarming to hear all those reviews from you, and especially given that we've got all these various kinds of problems in our sectors of business, like mining and banking and other sectors. It's good to hear that hospitality industry is moving, is developing, is attracting new customers, new clients. We now got our homegrown brand here.
Coffee brand. Yeah.
Coffee brand here. Yeah, we've got.
We are authentic as well, so maybe we are global but authentic.
Of course.
Yeah. And you are staying here for over 15 years? It's been
more than
15 years. Yeah, that's great. So thank you for this, and I hope we will all work even more to make it the most attractive tourist destination for the world.
It will be.
Yeah, and to develop ourselves to make sure that everybody is happy here in this country. You've been watching IBC Business Review, a joint project of IBC with Khabar news agency. Even more interesting stories are yet to come. Thanks for being with us today. Stay in touch with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and other social media, and our website. Bye.